Good afternoon. At this time, we will call to order the Edgefield County Planning Commission work session for May 9, 2024. This time we're in order. We have guest speakers tonight, representative from Luck Companies, Katie Koloski, Ben Thompson, and Susan Mitchell. Be for their brief review and some questions. Then my representative from ECL Global, Jack Harb, that she, okay, the question regarding. In the old business, brief discussion on the regarding our comprehensive plan. Are you going to make a brief on that?
So I'm going to be very brief on that. As you know, we're done with the text amendments for the next comp plan update. We've done the majority of the text amendments for the land development update that will go with it. We still have to do the map for the overlays, but we have changed the text, so that one will be easy. And then we have to do the comp plan map update and the zoning map update. Once those items are done, then we can move it forward to council and be finished with this 5-year update. I'm going to start on that at the next meeting, start back on that at the next meeting.
All right, thank you. I appreciate that. This time we're going into new business. Review of land development application for proposed mining operation that will be located off of Woodlawn Road in Clarks Hill, at the lower part of the county, next to McCormick County, Provincial ID 058-000-039 triple R. This time I'm going to turn over to the representative from Luck Company, and he can give us a presentation.
Nope. No? Everyone hear me? We have the presentation, please. Thank you. Thank you, Planning Commission, for your time tonight and everyone here in attendance. My name is Katie Kozlowski, and I'm here as a representative of Luck Companies. I've been with the organization for a little over 12 years, and I've served in different positions throughout the organization, including mining engineering, operations, and now in our permit and site selection group. Change, please. I'm here tonight just to introduce who we are as an organization, why we're here tonight, the project that we have along Woodlawn Road, and to address some specific questions that we've heard throughout our time here in Edgefield County, and to also share how we believe we will meet and exceed the expectations of the community. Luck Companies was founded nearly 100 years ago. We are currently led by our 3rd generation and are excited to welcome the 4th generation into leadership here very soon. They intend to remain privately held for generations to come, and I call that out in particular because that allows us to focus on our mission of igniting human potential and not focus on a fiduciary duty to any stakeholders. Luck Companies is a parent organization to 3 different business units: Luck Stone, Luck Ecosystems, and Luck Real Estate Ventures, along with 2 nonprofit organizations. The project that you'll see tonight will focus on Luck Stone. Luck Stone is the nation's largest family-owned and operated producer of crushed stone in the United States. We also hope to welcome Luck Ecosystems and Luck Real Estate Ventures to the community at some point in the future, but as I mentioned, the focus of this project is Luck Stone. We've been in and around the community of Edgefield looking for a potential site to grow within the Southeast for around 2 years. It requires an immense amount of research and understanding before we can identify a site and prove that it would be viable to support a mining use. All of that research has led us to identify a site north of Woodlawn Road, about 5 miles west of Sportsman's Corner, right on the border of McCormick County line. However, the entirety of the 434 acres sits within Edgefield County. Our hopes is to develop a mine on this property, a quarry in particular that can provide construction aggregates material to support infrastructure that supports the roads we drive on, the schools we send our children to, and the hospitals in which we go when we're sick. Anytime dirt is moved, rock is put back in the place to support drainage and facilitate that infrastructure. The site that you see up on the screen again, is 434 acres of a larger 1,700-acre tract. This site will be subdivided upon approval of the 2 levels of permitting which are required for a mining use. Over 60% of the site that you see on the screen will remain what we call open space and remain vegetated buffer. Imagine the site as a donut with the activity on the center and the vegetated buffers surrounding our site, sometimes at width greater than 300 feet. Entrance and exit onto the site will be on Woodlawn Road. Down on the bottom right-hand side, you'll see the DOT approved access point. I mentioned the 2 levels of permitting. We're here tonight for the local permitting process in alignment with the Edgefield County Ordinance, specific to a conditional use required for mining. The second level of permitting is the state level permitting, regulated by DHEC, which will continue tonight and throughout the next few months and create opportunities for the public to engage in the future. As I mentioned, and as you're aware, Edgefield County has 11 different design criteria in which a mining use must meet and illustrate so in our plans. Those include buffering, access, site security, and dust suppression, just to name a few. Luckstone believes that we've met and exceeded these expectations and done so making it a legal obligation and given the right to the county to remove our right to mine at any time by offering an additional 36 operating conditions in addition to our ability to meet and exceed these 11 design criteria. While we've been in and about the Edgefield community, we've heard several questions, mostly pertaining to noise, dust, wells and water, blasting, and traffic. I was hopeful to speak to most of these tonight in our time here. To mitigate noise, our organization uses infrastructure around the site. I mentioned earlier the donut in which we operate. Those buffers around the site, including berm infrastructure, work to mitigate any noise to surrounding property. We also work to enclose the areas of our site that are the loudest. That would be our crushers and our screens and the plants that work to make the product. Dust is generated through our use. However, Luckstone holds ourselves to dust suppression throughout the operation. This will come in the form of a water truck that's running throughout the operation at all times when we are running, and sprayers throughout our plant that's working, again, at all times throughout the operation. This is also something that Luckstone internally monitors ourselves to ensure the safety of our associates and the communities around us, but we are also regulated by the state and federal regulatory bodies, including the Mine Safety and Health Administration, which some of us have heard of. OSHA is similar as well. That's done through unannounced visits to the sites and monitoring over a certain hour period. Wells and water, we understand the concern here, and hence why we have provided a hydrogeologic study that was conducted by a third party. There are 3 wells within a half-mile radius of the extraction area, and this hydro study has worked to ensure that we will not have an impact greater than that they are currently experiencing with the fluctual seasons. Blasting will only occur once every week and a half to 2 weeks. This will last less than a few seconds. We will alert folks prior to via phone call, text message, or email. This is done and planned by certified South Carolina state blasters that encourage them not only to have an extensive amount of training before that test, but annual training throughout their career. Traffic. In alignment with the Edgefield County design criteria, we have performed a traffic impact analysis, which has deemed that the use of our trucks to move material from our location to our customers will not have an impact on the current infrastructure of Woodlawn Road. We additionally understand the concern from the community and are committed to working with the county and with DOT to ensure the safety of our community. I hope that you've heard our commitment to positive impact in our operation, but this will not stop at our gates. We are committed to being an active and responsible member of the community. You see examples up on the screen, but we are interested in hearing what is the best way for us to engage and benefit the Edgefield community. We also have very good partnerships with conservation groups throughout the Southeast. In particular, the James River Association, in which we've spent many and many a year building that relationship and partnering on strategic projects that benefit the ecosystem. Change. You're good. Again, we're here tonight asking for your recognition of our ability to meet and exceed the 11 design criteria outlined in the Edgefield County Ordinance. And I'd love to accept any questions from you at this time.
I've been able to ask questions, last week at the work session and then Monday night, so I'm satisfied.
I'm good.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Thanks a lot, appreciate that. At this time, we're going to review a land development application submitted by ECLS Global Incorporation representing Stanley Martin Home, proposing the development of a curb buffer green space for development of a single-family residential unit to be located off Utah Spring Trail, Parker ID 099-01-05-044 at Triple Alt. We're gonna go to that next at this time. You wanna present what you have?
Thank you. Thank you. My name is Jack Hobbs. I'm with ECLS Global. We're surveyors and engineers. I work out of the Myrtle Beach office. Stanley Martin, our client, has asked me to participate this evening. And for Stanley Martin, we have Lauren McCarthy and Michael Hanslick from their Augusta office with you today. And certainly if there's questions I can't answer, maybe they can help me out this evening. But our application involves property on Utah Springs Drive at its intersection with Captain Johnson Drive and the Mount Vintage Plantation subdivision. The property is owned by Stanley Martin, and the company's goal is very simple and straightforward. It just wants to build a house on this site. I understand our application is a little bit awkward since, in effect, Stanley Martin is asking you to approve a one-lot subdivision, so that's unique in my experience. A little bit of history about this property. It's shown as a 0.67 acre parcel on the Edgefield County GIS and on the Edgefield County real estate records. It's zoned RD, residential agricultural, so it's certainly zoned for a single-family dwelling. Stanley Martin bought this property in 2022 via a deed that describes the property, and it's the same property that came out of a foreclosure process in November 2021. So both those deeds describe the property. The real estate taxes have been paid on this site since 2008. And it indicates on the Edgefield County real estate assessment records and the GIS, it indicates but does not state that this is a building lot. So that's how we feel. Municipal water and sewer are available to this property, as they are most of the other lots in the subdivision. And the fact is, Stanley Martin believed it was buying a bona fide lot where a house could be built, but was notified that the land was not considered a building lot by the county planning office. So factors we hope you consider this evening are that when you compare this piece of property to the multiple subdivision plats that were put on record for the Mount Vintage subdivision in total, it certainly looks like it's just another building lot. It's the same general size and configuration. It fits with the pattern of the neighborhood. Stanley Martin certainly wants to be a good neighborhood, wants to support the obviously high development standards that are maintained by the development. Stanley Martin builds nice houses. The house proposed is very consistent with the others that have been built in the neighborhood over the years, especially the ones on adjacent lots. We believe that if this piece of property had been proposed as a lot under a subdivision application at some time in the past, it would have been approved. And we think that this is consistent with the neighborhood. Our proof of that is the HOA has approved the design of the house for the property, and has, we have a letter to that effect if you care to look at it. So what happened? The county planning department indicated it would deny a request. So we understand their interpretation is that this property is part of a buffer area or green space, but we've not been able to locate anything definitive that says that on the county's courthouse. It just doesn't say that. Similar to the way we just can't show where this lot was actually created via a plat earlier. So there's a lot of vagueness here. So the application we have in front of you tonight was submitted based on the planning office's direction as a proper path to remedy this. So this is why we're coming before you this evening. So in short, our feeling is that this is an existing lot, but we're amenable to following any and all reasonable processes and making reasonable concessions to see this happen. Our main point is that there doesn't seem to be any good reason to prevent the Planning Commission from approving this request. We don't see any downside for the county or for the neighborhood. And again, our goal is simple. The idea is we just want to build a house on this piece of property that was purchased in good faith. And so we ask that you'd approve that this evening. Be glad to answer any questions. I have some graphics if you care to look at them. This is the subdivision plat from 20 years ago. And you can see on here, you can pass it around maybe at the break, but our property is right here in the corner, and it does not show a lot. It shows at the very edge of the property this buffer that goes along Sweetwater Trail. That, and there's some question about whether that extends to the street intersection there. I did not find a good current map. So this came from the county GIS, and again, you might look at this at your break. But this is the configuration of all the lots in the subdivision as of yesterday from the county GIS. This is a blow up to the street scale, so you can see how the layout is along the road and what the county GIS shows. And this shows the configuration of the house that would be built on this lot via a typical, what we call a plot plan. For the property. So with that, be glad to answer any questions. We'll,
I have
Lisa, you have the
several.
floor. Go ahead.
And I'd like to make a few comments on staff's
Okay,
portion of
Make
this.
your first, go ahead.
go ahead, or do you want to?
You want to make your first?
If you want.
Okay. First, we on planning are very diligent. We want to do what the citizens of this county want. Sometimes we can't because of zoning or whatever. But we try, and we try very hard. And it's very important to us to have the green spaces. It's very important to us to have the buffers. All of these things are important. Therefore, I wonder why you would question what we deem is necessary for what our citizens want. Why would you go against that? Now, another thing. You say that it's not on the map. You don't see why you can't build there. If you'll notice on your map, P1, P2, P3, P4, all of the lots are numbered. The green space is not numbered. Wonder why? Because it's not a lot. That, therefore, is my question to you. Why do you think we don't know what a lot is? Why do we not know what our green space is when we're the ones who asked for it?
And I apologize if I've offended, but I spent a couple of hours in the courthouse this afternoon trying to get to the actual records for how the lot came to be shown as an independent piece of property, and those records weren't there. So that's,
Again, whether they were there or not, again, it's plainly marked on this map, P1, P2, P3. If something's lettered and numbered, it would therefore bring you to the conclusion that those are lots. You don't just number Harry Carey out there, you number what is therefore going to be built on. So, yes, I'm not offended at all, but I'll go head to head with anybody. But that's just common sense. And that's all I got to say about it.
You want to go?
So on the staff side, obviously, y'all know as planning director, when it comes to preliminary plat approvals and things like that, I have some sway and authority. But once a final plat has been stamped and recorded on a judgment roll, I do not have the ability to change it. Any addition of lots to a final plat has to be approved by y'all. Staff doesn't really have an opinion either way in this particular case. But on the judgment roll, it is dedicated green space for the entryway to Mount Vintage Development. And that's why staff denied the permit up front, just so you know where we were at.
Thank you, Doc. At the planning commission, we try to plan it as near as possible to meet the needs of the individuals that gonna build there, to meet the specifications of the county, so forth. And this spot a lot, this is a green space. It's a green space, and a green space we need it. Because I'm already, my opinion occasionally is that we already stacking houses. I know these large lots here, but when we look at this interest here, that is a beautiful interest. Nice interest for that going into Mount Vintage there. And this is why this was a left of green space. I was here when it was designed. And we spent many hours designing this arguing the point and so forth. And to go in and place a house here would destroy a nice looking interest. It would destroy it. And if I lived in the Mount Vintage, that's the way I would feel about it also. Because I'm concerned about, and I work with the builders. I'm a professional in that line. I've been in building all my life. Built and all. I'm fully aware. Then I know that the builders like to make money too. But buying, how this would push it or what, I don't know. But common sense, as she said, would show us that's a green space. And I'm against removing any green spaces in any subdivision in this county unless it's going to have to be a concrete reason why a public safety or something like that reason. And I just don't see us placing a house on this corner here, of that lot, the landscape there, and it will ruin the whole deal. And I know the builders want to make money, but money is not the whole key to it. This is our problem. Everybody wants to make money, but none is not the key. We got to look at some more things besides money. We got to, think about the citizen, how they're going to affect, and I'm sure the people that they're probably paying home association fees and stuff of that sort. And I don't see how it got through the crack. And that's my side of the story. You have anything, Ms. Butler?
No, y'all said it all.
How about you?
The only thing I have to say is I agree with both of the previous commissioners. It's very obvious to me on this plat that was green space. That was never intended as a lot. And you know, if y'all bought it that way and didn't do the due diligence to know that, I'm sorry, but that's, you know, that was your responsibility on the front end. And I don't think we need to, at this point, I agree, we don't need to take any green space out. And we don't need to set a precedence for changing our rules either.
I just agree with the previous comments. I don't have anything else to add.
It is just worth noting, we have every intention of keeping a buffer zone. That was never intended to go away because there is the buffer zone, 50-foot, buffer zone that is required in the community, and that would remain.
Well, 50-foot buffer zone and a green space is a lot of difference. We approved what is there. I don't know, I mean, where the ball was dropped. I don't even know if anybody had a ball at this point. Because you would assume that if you're going to buy property for the purpose of building a home on it, would you not check first to see if that was a buildable lot? Yes. So
Our
that's,
understanding was, although I've come into it later, that it was going to be a buildable lot.
by magic or what? I mean, I'm just so floored that, the people in Mount Vintage bought their homes in there and they knew it came with a green space. You don't want us to go back and say, well, no, we changed our mind. No, we don't do that. So, I'm sorry.
Anything else from you, Doc, on it?
That's it for the work session.
Okay. Okay, so, like I said, the bottom line is that we're not a wish-washy planning commission. It's enough trouble as it is up here to carry out plans and stuff, but like I say, you got to look at all aspects of it. And, I'm not looking at the price. If the house didn't cost but $200, it's still a green space. Still a green space, and that's,
To be owned by Mount Vintage still then and not.
but it's a green space, and we need green space, and the people bought the house with intended, like you said, knowing it was green space, and we planned, and my thought, to keep it that way. No other comments I have. You have any more? You have anything else? Okay, if that's the case, I think this will, see if I'm right here. What did I do? In that case, we will adjourn until 6 o'clock and go into our regular meeting. Meeting adjourned. Work session. At this time, we will call to order Edgefield County Planning Commission meeting for May 9th, 2024. Pray. Heavenly Father, we come to thank you for this day and opportunity for everyone again to come together to decide, make decisions for the citizens of Edgefield County. We thank you, God, for giving us law and order. We thank you, Father, for giving us health and strength and all the necessities that we need to survive through all the controversies and chaos that we have. And Father, we pray that this be an orderly meeting. We ask you, Father, to help us to make right decisions that are fair to each and all party involved. Forgive us for our many sins. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Let's stand for our pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. At this time, I need a motion to approve the agenda for May 9th meeting.
So moved.
Did I get a second?
Second.
All in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, ayes have it. Now I need approval for the minutes of April 11th work session. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. All in favor, raise your right hand. I need a motion for the approval of the minutes for April 11th, regular meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, right hand? Thank you, appreciate that. We have guest speaker tonight on, the representative from Luck Company, would be on later on in this time.
Yes, so the guest speaker from ECLS, they have withdrawn their application for the Mount Vintage Development final plat change. So that application is gone. We will no longer be holding a public hearing on that item.
Okay, this time we're gonna open up for our public hearing. And during this public, it's a comment, those who have signed up to speak, we'll call you.
Wait a minute.
You gonna do he said you don't have to, you don't do it. Okay, go ahead.
The next on the agenda is the reports for the minor subdivision.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Yes, sir.
I skipped this page here, there you go. That report from the staff on minor, major, exempt subdivision for the month of April. Thank you.
As you can see in the report in front of you, we had, in the month of April, 3 minor subdivision, 3 plat reviews, 1 exempt subdivision, and 1 land development application submitted, which was the Stanley Morton application.
Good, that's all right. So we'll accept that for information. Information, all right.
Okay. We want to remind everyone that we're simply here tonight to review the land development applications brought before us to determine whether the land use is legal, whether the applicant is able to meet conditions set per county regulation requirements. We're here for the preliminary land use hearing for these applications, not the final approval. All other requirements, such as approval by the appropriate regulatory entities, DOT, DHEC, must still be met prior to the project receiving its final approval.
Okay, during our public comments, those who have signed up, as I said before, you speak, you'll come up to the podium, you speak on, we're not gonna speak on one item, and so you signed up for that. So we state your name, you direct the comment to us. This is not a question and answer session, but it's a question where you make a comment, and then a question and answer will come later. We will address that later, so we're gonna ask you to remain on the topic, whatever the topic that we're gonna discuss, which is gonna be the quarrel. And all comments be limited to 5 minutes. So we are now ready for the public hearing. You got a list of who signed up. Pam Andrett.
I would just like to voice my opposition to this mining proposal, and I would like to read something out of the Chatham Journal newspaper written on April 28th, 24. Rock and roll, the noisy reality of living near a quarry. This is a luck quarry in Pittsboro, North Carolina. I just want to say good luck. I sincerely mean that. I live way too close to the 3M quarry, and it's horrible. The dust is unbelievable, and so is the rock grinding noise. Plus the blast knocking my pictures off the walls. No big deal on the pictures, but I can feel the blast reverberation under my feet. Then there's potential structural issues. We hear the siren and the boom, and when the quarry was being planned, our community, we voiced our concerns and plainly stated we did not want them in our area. We got the usual response, you'll never know we were here. They said they would plant trees all around and build hills around them to block the noise and dust. Well, that sure didn't stop much. Now let's think about the dump truck traffic. They rarely stop when they're coming in and out of the highway, so be very aware of them coming out. They scatter rocks on the highway, they covered tarps or not. They had a lot of cracked windshields and chip paint from the cars. Who pays for that? We do. I moved down here for the trail systems. I love what Edgefield had to offer. Came down for an interview and I found these trails out in Edgefield. One of them is the Fats Trail, which happens to be the Fork Trail system right down the road. And there were 339 reviews of that trail. People come from all over to ride those trails. And you can imagine what it would be like to hear rock grinding noise when you're hiking in the woods. I just want to stress to you that the tourism, the Clark's Hill, the trail systems is what I think of Edgefield, not a mining industry. And I would plead with you to please consider the direction in which this will take Edgefield. And it will definitely take it away from people coming in for peace and quiet. Thank you.
Tanya B. The last name, what, is a secret on the last name in there? I don't.
know how to spell it. I signed your name up.
My last name is Bonatadibus.
Would you spell that, please,
That's
ma'am?
why she didn't write it down. It's Bonitadibus.
Okay,
I'm always
thank you.
excited when I get to the end and I did it right. Whew. Hi, thank you for allowing me to speak tonight. My name is Tanya Bonatadibus. I am your Savannah Riverkeeper, and I was asked to come here by the community. I've been working on Stevens Creek and the Savannah River watershed for over 17 years. I will say that on the way here, actually, so this morning I was in Elberton at a water planning council meeting and actually saw an accident where one of the trucks ran a car, actually was trying to pass somebody and had a head-on accident this morning. That's how I started my day. So just the truck traffic, the wideness of the road where this is located is incredibly important. I think they're very deep embankments on the side of the road where this is planned to be located. So making sure that you have adequate egress that is wide enough for your traffic, especially during emergency situations for folks to get out, is very important. The other big thing from a public safety standpoint is Stevens Creek itself. This is located right next to this, is extremely flashy. And that extremely flashy isn't as important here, but in Meriwether, it's very important. We have a lot of people that are located along the creek, and right now we have a creek that can shoot up 15, 20 feet with just a little bit of rain. And when you're talking about getting rid of a whole section of wetlands, a whole nother creek area, that's gonna make it even more flashy. And so you're talking about those firemen having to go pull people out of their houses more frequently, which I have been a part of over the years. Sitting there sticking a ruler down the bridge, measuring where the water is, trying to get it back to Meriwether. So I would encourage you to reach out to them and see how life is down on the creek below you. There are 4 endangered species on this creek. One of them has been completely left out of this report, and that is the Carolina heel splitter. It is only found in 11 different places. The Savannah River, Stevens Creek here happen to be very important places for those heel splitters. I'd want to make real sure that they're not there. You also have the endangered spider lily that locates throughout the Stevens Creek area. When you're talking about taking this dewatering water and throwing it back into the creek, you are changing the pH of that creek, you're changing the makeup of that creek, which means that those species that are existing there now, that are existing almost nowhere else, are going to be threatened. And I don't think you really want to do that. There's a lot of tourism comes here. This is one of the most beautiful places on the earth. I mean, hands down. So I think there's also, there's a bat that is waiting to be listed currently, but there is very clear federal guidance to please do not cut the trees within the rookeries of these bats. Those bats are located on this site. The other is the use of the water. So from an economic standpoint, there's 2 things I think are very important. One, the EPA has just reduced air quality. So PM2 is your particulate matter in the air. During big burn events, which we have a lot here in the South, where our numbers are already too high. When you add a mine into that, you could be pushing your non-attainment, which would change how you regulate everything in the county. A lot of dust is generated by a mine. A lot of water is then used in that dust. And the reason the water is important is because we're doing a Water Planning Council regulation right now. The forecasting from this area shows no increase in the amount of water. You bring these guys in, that's a couple million gallons a day you're losing out of your economic driver in the future. So you need to make sure that when you choose to allocate this water in this way, this is the economic driver you want it for, and whether that tax return is good enough, or where that trade-off is. The last thing that I think I'm really concerned about is when I was reading the permit.
4 minutes.
There's 3 wells that they know of that they expect to be affected. So these are 3 residential wells that they say will be affected. But they also say they don't know if there's other wells because they just went off of a piece of paper. And then when it goes on to say, well, if those wells go dry, then the landowner has to contact DHEC. DHEC has to prove that it was the mine that was responsible for the well before the mine is responsible for doing anything about that person's drinking water. The last thing, actually, there's one more. Stevens Creek is a place where we do not, there's 12 Mile Creek and Stevens Creek in drought situations. We already know we are water restricted. So again, that becomes really important as we're talking about. We get a 3-year drought, you're going to start having to figure out how to deal with your water. So be mindful of taking that much out.
5 minutes.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Okay. Nathan Hollinger, is that right? Correct.
I'm a Clarksville resident, and I'm opposed to this. Every way that I look at it, from everything that I've been able to research, the dust pollution, the noise pollution, the danger on that road. I regularly ride on Woodlawn Road, and it is narrow, switchback road that is already dangerous. People are killed there regularly. You had hundreds of dump trucks on that road coming in and out, going around blind curves. If someone were to get a flat tire, there's nowhere to pull over because of the embankments on the side. We're already at least 30 minutes response time for our first responders. The strain that is going to put on them while people are waiting there for the accidents that will inevitably happen, people are going to die. That is the worst place you could possibly put a facility like this, with trucks entering and exiting that facility. I'd like to reiterate what our 2 previous speakers said about all the environmental impact. One of the only amenities we have in Clarksville is a natural beauty. We've got Stevens Creek, we've got the Savannah River, we've got Clarksville Lake. You throw this thing there that will permanently disfigure the landscape, it's going to be destructive for the views, for nature, for everything. And everybody I've spoke to in the community has said this is not something they want. This is not something that's going to be good for our community. This is something that an out-of-town corporation seeks to come to our little community and make profit. And if there is anything that this council can do legally to stop this, to recommend against it, we beg you to act on our behalf as our representatives. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Corey Him.
My name is Corey Hem. I live on Thurmond Road, which is just off Woodlawn. I live a little over 2 miles from the proposed quarry site. Last year, I taught my oldest son how to drive. It was terrifying. We spent a lot of time going up and down Woodlawn Road because that is his route to school. I know every blind curve, every little dip that you can't see a car coming out of. It is a narrow road. When I got on overhead photography and measured the road, at a lot of points it's only 19 feet across from one edge of the pavement to the other edge of the pavement. That is well below the mandated width of that kind of road as it is now, with the uses are now. But I don't have to tell most of these people that, because if you've ever passed a truck pulling a boat going down that road, you know it's too narrow. As part of Luckstone's proposal, they submitted a traffic and roadway analysis. As it stands now, it only looks at the immediate area around the entrance or the future entrance to the quarry. It does not look at what happens to the traffic when it comes out of Woodlawn and heads out and then heads down Martintown Road. According to this report, when the quarry is fully operational at peak morning hours, 52 trucks an hour would be turning eastbound down Woodlawn Road. That's just under a truck every minute. I don't know if I would be able to turn out of my dirt road, more or less safely navigate a 19-foot wide road in the morning during those hours. Based on the timeline they're given, that would be the scenario when I am teaching my youngest daughter how to drive. And that scares me to no end. Then those trucks hit Sportsman's Corner. And I'm guessing most of them would head from there down to I-20. Now you're talking about the road that all the kids going to Meriwether Middle, Meriwether Elementary, Fox Creek, from that whole side of the county take to school. So I will not be the only parent on the road with their kids. My high schoolers will not be the only new drivers driving to school in a line of trucks. The statistics for what happens when a passenger car hits a truck are not good. 97% of the time when there's a fatality, it's the person in the passenger car. That makes sense. That dump truck is 9 feet wide with mirrors. You put that on a road that only has 19 feet wide of pavement. Then you add the sun in your eyes. You add all our deer, our other animals. You add rain, you add anything else. You have zero margin for error. So the people that are going to suffer, the people that are going to die are us. They're our kids. They're our friends coming to visit us. They're your grandma coming to babysit your kids that are not going to make it because of the volume of truck traffic on that road. I think unless there is a very significant commitment, if there is a plan to fix the road with a timeline, with funding, that will solve this problem before those trucks are on the road. Not afterwards, not after 10 kids die, before. If that is not the case, please do not approve this. I don't think you would want your kids on that road, given that scenario, where you are talking 1 truck a minute on a road that is far too narrow. I know that South Carolina, I've been in touch with South Carolina Department of Transportation. I know that they are looking at least at commissioning another traffic study. I think still it doesn't go far enough. We need to study completely where those trucks go, all the way till they get on the highway, all the way the paths they take through our county, so that we are sure that these roads can safely be navigated by the drivers of the trucks and by those of us who live there. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. Beverly, no last name on here? What's your, I need,
Beverly Bonowitz, and
would you spell that for me, ma'am?
Bonowitz, Boniewicz.
Okay, go ahead.
As I said, we live on Thurman Road, and we've been there about 23 years. We moved there from Columbia County for peace and beauty and quiet, and Edgefield has that. I drove down Woodlawn the other day to see where they're going to put that quarry. And I sat there and I cried and I cried. When I was a little girl, I lived behind a limestone quarry. It was ugly. I don't care what pretty things they put around it. It was ugly. There was nothing but dust and dirt and noise. We moved from Walterboro, South Carolina. Speaking about, have any of y'all ever been down Woodlawn Road? It's little, and it's curvy, and there's dips. You have to stop at our road, look left, and you better count to 10 or 15 seconds so you don't get hit by a car that's coming at that dip. It's awful, but we still love it. It's beautiful there. And we were talking about the safety. And I had been thinking about that all day long. I don't feel like we've been given enough time to really research this ourselves. My neighbors, we haven't. So I'm not as organized as I would like to be with my thoughts. But the safety issue, how in the world are they going to get through that, by that? My husband had a massive heart attack last year at home. If those trucks had been on that road then, he wouldn't be here. Because an ambulance has a hard enough time navigating there anyway. There's no way they could have gotten there nor gotten him out in the time that it took. There's no way. It is not safe for this quarry to build here. And we really, please guys, don't let them do this. And just like Mr. Burke said, I saw up there on their presentation, which is a beautiful presentation, their hopes, their hopes for Edgefield County, that's not our hopes for Edgefield County. Amen. It's just not. We live here because we love it. It's beautiful. And the environmental effect is, you cannot tell me it is not going to affect our animals, our wildlife. You can't. The air quality is going to stink. There's a builder that bought 138 acres behind our house. We had asked for the opportunity to buy it. We weren't given that opportunity because we were going to leave it as is. Well, most of it is nothing now, and he has dug so much dirt out of that area, it has affected our backyard because he didn't fill in anything. And the dump trucks came up scuffing in front of our homes. I sat out there at 5:30 in the morning and videoed this. And the dust just rolled right up to our house. It was awful. And he still has some trucks coming there, not many. And I don't think he's here tonight. But another thing is, I really do not believe a subterranean blast is something that's not going to be heard in some way, shape, form, or another. Our grandson lives with us. He has brain tumors. He's extremely sensitive to even low-grade noise. You can't tell me, you cannot convince me that it will not affect him and a lot of other people. The noise is going to affect the animals, the livestock, what have you. And just one last thing, and I'm sure they've done their sort of due diligence. Look at the fault lines. All these fault lines. Please don't tell me it's not going to cause a problem with that. I surely would appreciate it if you guys would really, really think about us. Thank you.
Thank you. Christopher Carney? Carey, okay.
Hello. The quarry would be bad for the community. Let me clarify that statement. The effects of running that quarry are contrary to the interests of existing residents, both adjacent to the quarry and along its lines of communication, the roads. Monday evening, myself and about 80 other concerned citizens attended an informational gathering hosted by Lux Stone to learn what we could and express our concerns. They appeared professional, polite, and with various stalls proclaiming how wonderful they are and how much they love us and how much they are looking forward to loving us some more. Some of my concerns were assuaged, whilst others deflected. At 4.5 miles as the crow flies, I am reasonably assured I will not often hear the explosions, alarms, and heavy machinery running day in, day out, whilst I'm indoors with windows closed and stereo playing. I'm not convinced those nearer to the activity will be so lucky. In fact, I suspect they will suffer greatly. The two greatest standouts from the educational event, to my mind, were the lack of honest information regarding how much traffic this was going to bring and how much economic benefit the community would realize. Numbers on both were absent. Why would that be? On 3 occasions, whenever I brought up traffic and roads, I was given the same answer, non-answer, almost verbatim from a councilwoman, Luck Quarry, a representative of, and also from Mr. Clark at the county meeting on 7th May. Words to the effect of, "It's not up to us, it's up to DOT." According to them, DOT said the road could handle the traffic. I just had a lady here delighted to tell me she thinks the road there can handle 10,000 vehicles, as it is today. Miss Whitaker, thank you.
That's not what I said.
That is exactly what you said, ma'am.
Oh, no argument. That's
Anyways, since the meeting of the 7th of May, I have found the Transportation Technical Memorandum that was prepared by Kimley Horn and Associates, published on 7 September 2023, and available on Luck's website. Thank you. It is 68 pages of charts, verbiage, and pictures. It projects the increase in heavy truck and additional traffic specifically caused by the quarry, as well as a predicted 2.3% average growth of traffic not to do with the quarry. Using their numbers and averaging downwards, Woodlawn Road's annual average daily traffic is 700 vehicles currently. At 10 years operation, they expect it to be 236 trucks a day and an additional 42 passenger cars associated with the quarry. That is a 33.714% increase in traffic just from the trucks and 39.714% increase in traffic in additional quarry-related traffic additional to relate to the quarry. Those numbers do not include the 23% projected annual increase in non-quarry traffic. Once fully developed, the truck traffic will be 343 daily, a 49% increase from today. But if you add the additional quarry-related traffic of 60 vehicles, that gets us to 57% increase in vehicular traffic, the vast majority of which are heavy trucks, some of what exists today, above what exists today, and not inclusive of the 23% of non-quarry-related growth numbers. Not once did it mention, reference, or allude to collisions, fatalities, or car accidents, nor does it imply the community should stand to tolerate it. The above numbers matter, and here's why. The more vehicles that are on the road, the more vehicle accidents and fatalities there are. It sounds common sense, but there are, in fact, statistical evidence to support this. As reported by Forbes in an article titled Truck Accident Statistics for 2024, large truck accidents increased by 26% from 2020 to 2021. Why? Because the COVID lockdowns ended and traffic volume went up. 26%.
4 minutes.
Thank you. Fatal truck accidents in rural areas up 55% as opposed to 45% in urban areas. 79.6% of large truck accidents occurred at the daytime attributed to volume. Occupants and other values are occupants of the vehicles other than the trucks are likely to die at 72%. And on and on and on. I've got too much more. Can someone surrender their time? Because I got a hell of a lot more to hit these people with evidence, okay? Majority of fatal large truck accidents, 63.9% were on non-junction related. How many junctions are on Martintown and Woodlawn Road? The majority of truck accidents, 78.3%, occur in good weather. This is disputed because truck drivers, there's just more of them on the road and they exercise less vigilance. I'll skip to some more. One thing we can't avoid, no matter how much your argument of widening the roads, because I know that's coming, because that's what y'all offered, that's not going to reduce volume. It's not going to reduce the volume. Man, I got so much more here for you.
5 minutes.
5 minutes up. So.
If anybody later would surrender some of their 5 minutes to me, I would love to finish this. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. William Roberts. William Roberts. Okay.
Good evening.
Evening, sir.
How are y'all? I live on Woodlawn Road. My wife and I moved there about 2.5 years ago. We could have chosen anywhere. So when I retired from the Army, we were looking at the area, trying to choose where to live, and we chose Edgefield County. Probably the biggest reason was because of the lifestyle. It's an awesome county. It's a beautiful area. Somebody almost 100 years ago chose to put that national forest there, And I don't know about you, but I'm really glad they did. It really added a lot to our area. Probably the biggest thing that concerns me, and it's been covered quite a bit, but I'll kind of talk about it a little bit because I've seen some things happen on that road personally. So that road is extremely dangerous already. So we have a lot of traffic. We have a lot of boat traffic. We have a lot of motorcycle traffic. We have commuter traffic. We've got local people. There's a lot of traffic on that road. About 2 months ago, my wife and granddaughter were walking up our driveway, and they happened to see a wreck happen right in front of them. SUV with a 16-year-old driver coming up Woodlawn. There's a curve in front of our house. He probably was texting or looking at his phone or whatever, but people do that. He straightened out the curve. He launched, took out my mailbox, took out my neighbor's mailbox, landed and rolled. My wife watched the whole thing. My granddaughter's like, she's like this high. She's like, what just happened? So I don't know about you, but taking care of my family is my priority. So can you imagine if that was a dump truck with the driver who might have glanced down at his phone and he might have left the road? Because it really is, the road is not designed for that. It is steep banks, and it will really increase the danger on that road. One of the forest rangers gave me a really nice map of the national forest out there. And I'm sure you guys have studied the map and you've studied where the proposed site is. But I can probably do it like this. So this is national forest, and this is national forest, and that thing is going to sit right here in this open area, just like that. The trail system runs down here. The trail system runs right beside it. One of the most popular biking trails is super close to where the site is going to be. So the article that you read a few minutes ago, I read the same article online. It's easy to find horror stories about folks who live close, and some of them are actually this company who live close to these places. So the dust, my wife has asthma. I don't know if the health concerns, I think we should all be concerned about the health issues that this might cause. So when we look at that, do we really want that noise, not only as an annoyance of the explosions, the grinding of the rock, but also the dust being released into the atmosphere with a bunch of people hiking and biking a quarter of a mile away? That's probably not a great thing for us to do. Also, just the runoff into Stevens Creek, which has already been talked about. But that's a concern for me, the environment. Stevens Creek runs into the river. That's our area. So I think we should protect our area. Somebody, like I said, almost 100 years ago was smart enough to put that national forest in there, and we all get to benefit from it. I think probably the last thing is just, I hope that the commission, I happened to come into your 5 o'clock. I overheard some of that meeting. I know that you guys, you're taking into account everything that you think is good for the county and for the community. But I would ask that you vote against this measure. I've already sent a letter to all the commission, the county commission folks, saying the same thing and the reasons why. I'll guarantee you that you can't find anybody on Woodlawn Road or anybody in that area that is in favor of this. And I went to the event Tuesday night also and met a lot of my friends and neighbors out in the area after the meeting, and not one was like, boy, I can't wait for them to set this thing up. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Mary Kay Coleman. Yeah.
I live in River Hills, which is a neighborhood that backs up to Stevens Creek. And I don't have a lot to add, anything to add, but to just voice my support for all these people. I think probably everyone here who doesn't represent the company is in agreement that this is gonna hurt why we came here. I moved here 2 years ago for the peace and quiet, which is going to be marred, and for the bike trails, which are going to be marred. One of those bike trails does cross that road, actually. There are people who ride bikes on that road specifically because those bike trails do that. And our neighborhood has flooding multiple times a year already because Stevens Creek rises and covers the road and covers a couple of properties. I don't know what would happen if we had more water to that. And again, like other people have also said, this kind of feels like a bait and switch that I moved to the area and lots of people moved to the area because it's the kind of area that we want to live in. And this doesn't support that. It goes directly against why we came here. It would be like building a shopping mall in the area. It's not what we want.
All right, thank you. But Garrett.
Thank you. I'll be brief. I don't have a presentation, but I'm a real estate appraiser. I've done that for 28 years, and I haven't done any appraisal work for this particular situation, but just in my experience, I've never seen a mine help property values for residential properties. It's the noise and the dust is nothing but a detriment to property values. I'm in the process of building a house in Edgefield County. We're moving out here for the peace and quiet, and I just think that this would be opposite of what we're moving out here for. But it's kind of too late. I'm 90% done. Thank you for your time.
Yes, sir, thank you. John Hudson.
Who did you say?
John Hudson.
That's me then. Praise God. Wow. You know these guys appointed by your county council. Y'all should have been at Tuesday night. I was. I had my ears open. Okay? They've already approved this. They've covered all their laws. The DOT's covered all its laws. Everybody's dotted all their I's and T's, okay? This here is to say that the people agreed to this. They vote for it. They voting for an industrial park, not a commercial. And I can't read because I had a big piece of equipment mess me up. So it's all about equipment. Anyway, it's a quarry 5 miles down the road. Now, they're going to bring the asphalt plant too. They're going to bring the cement plant. Oh, it's going to get great. That's why they want them to approve it's an industrial park. Got it? And they're going to be 35-foot dump trailers, not the tandem trailers. And they're going to have monitors on this place. I have worked maintenance in quarries, EPA. I worked on sprinkler systems. They break down all the time. The dust flies, and really, granted, causes cancer. But they have monitors on it. That's how bad this is. Okay? And like I said, I've worked on the sprinkler system. I've worked in the quarries. And they'll have eventually car rails come 3 miles across the river over here to get rock. And the way our government works, China can buy any land in this country, right? We the ones got dumb road up here, okay? Dumb, you know, okay? And they can fly balloons over. It's the law. Now, this council has already been coached. Moody and Dean has already sold on it. They had, I think, Doc come up and said that we done met all our requirements.
Sir, let's
I'll get my time.
I know the time, but let's leave the names out.
What?
Let's don't start name calling.
Why can't we?
Well,
I had to tell you, my name is John Hudson. Tell me my address. I should be able to call out anybody I want.
Well, I'm just saying, let's hold it to.
Oh, no, sir. This is politics. They need to
That's
know the
not
truth. Now, I get to speak, or do I not?
Yes, sir, you get to speak, but I'm controlling the meeting.
Yes,
I'm trying to cut you off, but I
and
want you to
that's
stay
what I get is 5 minutes.
on my standard.
No, sir, you don't have no standard. I get to speak. I'm freedom of
I'm
speech.
gonna set you down a minute. Go ahead. I'm gonna let you go and see.
Now, I want my time taken back. Now, they've already approved this. The county stood right there at flat Tuesday night. Y'all should have been here Tuesday. You got to get involved. You got to be like these college kids. You got to start protesting for good stuff. Amen? Open your mouth and use it. Anyway, he said DOT, I called DOT. They've all said that, they done said that road's okay. Y'all all wasting your time talking here. This is real business going on. There's a war going on in this county. Who's gonna run it? Are y'all involved in that? I've been coming. I prophesied to this place right here 2 years ago. They would come here and pillage and rape this county. And they doing it. Because all the parties to be are fighting over who's gonna rape this county. In our government, okay? And I think some of the ones that want to get back in, that got taken out, they from Virginia too. There's some lobbyists up here. I think this is intentional. They want to punish us. Really get in the real world. These people are using us to get what they want. And they're not listening to us. They are clearly done told you they've met the law. They can do what they want. Now, all we got to do is hope that these will vote right. But guess what? Their vote don't mean anything. Were you in the meeting when Dean kind of went low and didn't have everybody in agreement to put Doc over the planning and zoning? Now, if the planning and zoning don't do it right, Doc's going to finish it for you. He's got all this ground covered. They know better than any other county on this federal government. They changed the laws to make it work for them. They put everybody in so they can get what they want. And then they say, well, it's the law. Now, Doc has said all along, it's the law, it's the law. We have to give them the right to do what they want. It's the law, it's the law. Well, look where the law is getting us. Our country's getting raped, taken over, and bought out by China and powers to be. It's you that's got to make this change. You need to email and call Dean and all of them all the time. Write them. Because it's powers to be trying to take over. And zoning, they say we had no zoning. We can't stop them. Guess what? Why didn't you change zoning now if it ain't no zoning? Why do we need a zoning? They got to have the zoning change in the industry or they can't buy it. Till this approves them that they get what they want industrial. Then they can apply a plat for the DOT to give them a right. Then they can apply to EPA to get what they want. But the land ain't going to be in their name till they give them what they want. And they said they have done it all right. And it's up to them to either have a conscience and stand up and stand against this whole charade or let Doc come in behind it since they voted him in to take over.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Travis Vaughn.
Howdy, y'all. I live off Murr Road. I'm about 10 miles from the proposed facility. I'm a project manager in my day job, and the first step of a project charter is to identify risks. I can only speak to risks that I've identified. At the estimated start of the reclamation period, I'll be about 97. And I look around the room, I think I'm the youngest person in here. So I'm really only here for my great-grandchildren, should I have any, and to do my due diligence, I think any approval should include a no nuclear waste storage permitted at the facility during the reclamation process, if we get that far. No clue how that works with the Nuclear Regulatory Commission, because once there's a giant pit, if there's nuclear waste, someone would want to store it there. This could be a non-issue, but it is an issue. It is a concern of mine. Another concern, I think the traffic study lacks scope. Woodlawn is mentioned, but 230 to the county line is not. I travel that road extensively coming to and from my home, also to get to my mother's house. The section of road 230 from Sportsman's Corner to the county line is already in terrible condition, and I think everyone here can agree with that. Add in the tourism traffic from the Christmas tree farms, which wasn't included in the traffic studies. Also add in school buses and school traffic, which wasn't included in the traffic study because the traffic study only talked about Woodlawn Road. If approved, I think we need a plan with the partnership or immediate funding from Luck to expedite this process with SCDOT. That road is currently in process to be widened, South Carolina 230 from the county line up to Sportsman's Corner, but it needs to be expedited. I also think the ecological impact of the groundwater report lacks scope as to how they'll affect Stevens Creek as well as Deep Step, which is rarely mentioned. Those watersheds also include the water lily the Savannah River Keeper mentioned, and it was left out of the ecological report. Add in dust that cannot 100% be mitigated. It will cover that area, and it will destroy that ecological area. So ultimately, this mining quarry will affect both of those in ways that none of us have been able to study and research because these are left out of the ecological reports, the groundwater reports that Luck has paid a third party to do. I think another third party needs to be involved with it that is not associated with them. At Clemson University, I studied, some of the courses that I studied were geology, specifically groundwater and contaminant transport. Now, with rock, that's not really permeable, but those watersheds are going to be impacted. I'm a local resident of this community, and I think that more insight, more due diligence needs to be done. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Ron Miller?
Hey, I'm Ron. I live on Thurman Road. A lot of these people in here are my neighbors. My wife and I, we have a little farm out there. We love the country, and I just want to say we want to keep our area the country. We have concerns with the roads, the traffic, the wells. Everybody in our area has wells. We have 2 on the property. You may remember a few years ago, we had a proposed wedding venue in our area. That was withdrawn, and my wife and I purchased that property to protect our area so nothing else like that could happen. I asked that the commission here really look at everything involved here and support the people that live here and saying no to the quarry. Thank you.
Thank you. Arthur Barr.
Okay, well, I had an agenda and it is completely shattered right now. I just wanted to clarify a couple of things from the previous meeting, April 11th. There's a lot of people here. I don't have an exact count, but there's over 80-plus residents that live on this road. I think it was mentioned last time that there was 15 or so. There's a lot more than that. She mentioned the impact to the water and the well systems. I also want to note in their report that they submitted to DHEC, right here, a review of database information, blah, 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 that there are no wells present in the database that are located within a 0.5 mile radius of the proposed mile pit. So I live right here. That's my well. That's Rose's well. That's Andrew's well. They're located on the plan, but the information is specifically excluded from this report. I don't know why that is, but I'm just pointing that out. Everybody's talking about the traffic, and I don't know if y'all actually read this, and there's convenient ways of dumbing these numbers down, but I just urge everybody to review this. During their peak development site, 343 quarry trucks. That's in a day. And the way they classify this is trips. So they're going to dumb it down for you and say, well, there's only this many trips. But a trip, what they consider a trip is there and back, which is actually there and back 2 times on the road, not 1. So they're going to make that number look a lot better. I think she said something like 8 trucks an hour. It's going to be a lot more than that. Let me go back to my notes. That might be all I have. Everybody else has pretty much covered everything else. The road is very dangerous. I live on that curve. Me and my wife have been there for 8 years. A man died in my driveway 6 months ago. It's extremely dangerous. We have wrecks on that curve 3 or 4 times a year. I don't know how this is going to improve any of that. I don't know what it's going. I don't know how you avoid it. So I guess what I'm saying is the accidents are going to happen. I know there's laws and there's DOTs doing their thing, and there's things that we can't do to get around it. But the accidents are going to happen, and that responsibility has to fall on somebody. It's not going to fall on them. They're using outside haulers. Once that truck leaves their quarry, they're not responsible for anything. Amen. So if we don't do anything now, we're going to suffer the consequences for years to come. Have to deal with this. They have no obligation to help. They want a quarry. They want to build it. They want to make money at our expense. The fractures that she talked about, I don't know how they're not going to impact my house or their houses. I don't know what we're going to do. We're going to have to move. They've been doing 2 years of due diligence, never contacted me one time. We're directly across the street, never contacted us one time. What are we supposed to do? the property values going to decrease. I can't move. I can't sell my property. It's not gonna be worth anything. Nobody's gonna move there. Who's gonna help us? We're asking for help from somebody on the county. Also, just to clarify, the DOT permit has not been approved yet. The DHEC permit has not been approved yet. I suggest if you really want to help, go to DOT, start there and start pushing there. I know they are doing a new traffic study. I personally requested that. I know a lot of people did too. So this traffic study is, I don't know who they paid to write it, but it was brilliant. It's not accurate. So that's all I got to say, I guess. We just need some help.
All right, appreciate it. And that's all the names I have on the list, so, oh, you got one more? Two more.
One person came in right after six, so we'll get her to come up after.
What's that, Philip White?
I'd like to give you all a history lesson of Woodlawn Road. I live in Clark Hill, been there about 40 years, and I travel south to Augusta, and Woodlawn Road was a very good road in that if you headed south on 28, you could cut across Woodlawn Road, go to Martintown Road and go into downtown Augusta. It was a great way to save time. And in hindsight, people who live here in Edgefield, if they go down Martintown Road, they can take Woodlawn Road to the right and be in Evans in a short amount of time. What that was is 40 years ago, there was a lot less traffic on that area. What's happened to Woodlawn Road is basically what's happened into Washington Road and Evans. A lot of development has happened in Augusta to where if a truck was heading down Martintown Road and he hit I-20, goes over to Washington Road and goes up, it's going to take him an hour to get to Clark Hill. Whereas if he goes to Sportsman's Corner and takes a right and goes down Woodlawn Road, he can be in Clark Hill in 20 minutes. So it is a big difference as far as the time. 40 years ago, I met a gentleman, Mr. James Mason. His family owned all that land in Woodlawn, which basically went from the bridge all the way up to Clark's Hill. Before the bridge on Furious Ferry was built, there was an actual ferry there, which is called Furious Ferry. James Mason worked on that ferry. He and I became good friends, and what he had said is that sometime probably during the Depression, the Mason family decided to clear cut all this timber that was on that Woodlawn area. The timber in this area was two people could not get their hands around one tree. It was huge, and that's just the way it was 100 years ago, and that the woods were big, and so what they did, the trees were huge, so what they did, they hired Hines Lumber Company out of North Carolina to come down and clear cut the land. They cut all the land in Woodlawn from pretty much the Savannah River. James Mason owned land mainly along the river. They cut timber from the bridge pretty much up to Clark's Hill. That's why to this day, that whole area has no topsoil. Because when they cut all the trees down, the soil went either to Stevens Creek or went to the Savannah River. Now, when you crossed the ferry, you went into the South Carolina, you went up what was called Furious Ferry, which is there today. You crossed over and you go about a quarter mile, and you ended up on Hopewell Church Road, which is there now. There was an intersection. If you took a left, you'd go by the old church and you would get on Highway 28. If you took a right, you would go down and you would end up at Sportsman's Corner. There was no Woodlawn Road, okay? Woodlawn Road was not there. Now, what happened was when they hired Hines Lumber Company to come down, they took steam engine sawmills, okay? And what they did is a steam engine sawmill It's a regular engine steam locomotive with no wheels. They brought that down, they put it on sleds, and they dragged it by mules. Woodlawn Road was an access point for those locomotives, so these engines, these giant sawmills, to cut the wood down that road. And they started there on 28 and they worked their way down. Now, what happens is that when they do that, all the trees, they didn't have, expensive, they used basically mules to pull everything around. They used to bring the wood up to the sawmills and they cut. So what happens is that road that they made, Woodlawn Road, was made by the dragging of the sawmills up and down that road. So what happens is eventually, that must have been, people thought it's a good way to save time and whatever. But actually, the road that was, it just turned into a road that should not have been. That's why it's so dangerous now to go along that. You have a drop off of 30 or 40 foot on either side. There's no room or anything like that as far as the dangers of that road. Now, it will affect people in Edgefield because they have boats now. They go to the lake and they carry your boats. And so it is a dangerous road. But now I'll say this. Today I went over to, in Appleton, they have Vulcan the rock quarry. They're in Appleton on Columbia Road. I've been there before and it's pretty popular. I went there and spoke to the girl today, and she was what you would call a dump master. She's the girl that weighs the trucks, and you go and get. I got Crusher Run today, and so I was just asking her. The name was Valerie. I said dump trucks average. Small dump truck averages 64,000 pounds. That's a small one. The bigger ones are 80,000 pounds. These are going to be the size of the trucks that this quarry uses, and all trucks do that. And I just asked her, I said, how much traffic did you have yesterday coming out of your mill? And she said, yesterday they had 429 trucks in one day. And that's the ticket I got from Vulcan today. So you're talking about a lot of traffic coming up in there.
Thanks, sir. Katie Cato? Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Hi, I'm Katie Cato. I live off of Tucker Road, which is off of Sprouse. We moved here 6 months ago. We decided after raising 3 kids that are now adults, and now we have an encore kid, we decided that we needed to change it up a bit after COVID. Bring it back down to the roots. Let our kids be able to play outdoors, have community, all of these things. Plant vegetables, go fishing, all of the things that sounds like a lot of people were looking for coming out here. I drive down Martintown Road to Meriwether Elementary School. That's back and forth twice, so 4 trips. Elementary schools, we have to have our kids in their chairs at 7:20 a.m. We already have to account for logging trucks, which are almost impossible to pass anytime in the morning or in the afternoons because there's too much traffic already on there. I cannot imagine how much earlier we would have to get up to pass or leave time for the amount of trucks that they're talking about. Before we moved here, my son, a little personal, but he was dating somebody in Modoc. He had just gotten his license not that long beforehand. He was 16 years old. We actually forbid him to be able to drive at night down to see her or come back. Everything he did had to be before then. I didn't trust him to drive or navigate those roads as windy as they are. I don't like to drive them. I definitely didn't want my 16-year-old driving them. So the person that was speaking about her kids getting their license and already being petrified, we did the same thing. And now we're talking about blasts. We're talking about potential earthquakes, albeit small. They do come in masses. Kershaw County is where we're from. And they do have a quarry, and they had several a day quite a long span, to the point where they were starting to get, worry about earthquake insurance, except they couldn't afford it. After that quarry came and they were trying to put insurance, add that to it, because that's not part of a typical plan, it was outrageous for them to add it after the fact. All of these things combined, I don't have fancy reports. I learned this a couple days ago, and I only know what I've heard here. But nobody moved here for the blasts. We came here to reconnect with, our roots and try to raise our kids in a place that is quiet. It's a little slower. It's pretty. And not to have all the traffic of North Augusta or Augusta. So please take that into consideration. Thank you.
Thank you. That's all of them, right? Okay.
I'm Dustin Doolittle. Born and raised here, been in Edgefield County my whole life, live in Modoc. I just watched Stanley Martin get shut down over a green space in a neighborhood. There's hundreds of houses in Mount Vintage. But in Edgefield County, I hear where there's less people. I'm seeing a 400 acre plus tract gonna get approved. But you're shutting down, what is it, half acre, if that, of green space. Who cares? It's a neighborhood. There's multiple. You're in a golf course. What do you need more green space for? But we're gonna get shot down over 400 acres. My whole life, I've ridden motorcycles. I don't know if you've been down this road. It's very popular for motorcycles because of the amount of curves. If one of these bikes meet one of these trucks, it's over. The safety on it's ridiculous. It's very curvy. There's a minimum of 17 curves from Martintown Road to Highway 28. And if you go to Sportsman's on a Saturday, on a pretty day, spring, summer, you're gonna see multiple bikes parked there because that's what they're doing. They're going back and forth down that road because of the curves. Now granted, yeah, they're dumb, they're high speed. I did it, still do it, but that's how you get your adrenaline rush. And I just want to look at the safety of it. If these trucks weighing what they weigh come in here, I mean, we're not gonna make it. I mean, when these trucks 80,000 pounds, I'm a pancake in the road. Because what's to say that there's laws that say they shouldn't be on their phones? But how many trucks do we see wrecked because they're on the phones, not paying attention? And this is a curvy road. Studies with the wells, same thing. You got multiple people, the wells are that close. It was discured. I just want y'all to think hard before y'all make this vote. I know it's probably still gonna go through because of all the laws, but I just want y'all to look at it as far as Edgefield County residents not wanting to see Edgefield County become industrialized and stay rural. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Give my perspective of the proposed Luck Company's rock quarry for the Edgefield County. I believe the critical infrastructure material that is produced is critically important for our growing region. To have Edgefield County provide these materials, as well as the jobs which will come from this operation, would be a win for Edgefield County. I believe that SCDOT is responsible for maintaining the highways the Luck Companies will utilize. I also believe the Luck Companies will work with DOT in all ways required. During my years living in Spotsylvania County, Virginia, we resided under 3 miles from the facility at 9100 Luckstone Lane in Virginia for 11 years. We never heard their operation, and we passed their facility multiple times a week. I'm also familiar with their facility in Loudoun County, Virginia, as well as their facility in Prince William County, Virginia. All 3 of these facilities are well run and do not impact the quality of life in the surrounding areas, which are the more densely populated than Woodlawn Road. as you can see in the attached photo. Enclosed, I believe this project would be a great addition to Edgefield County.
You didn't indicate the name of where they live.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure about that.
No, this is Scott Cooper.
All right. Order. Okay, that's, at this time, I'm gonna invite Lucky representative to come up and speak on any question from the public here they'd like to address.
Thank you so much for the time, and thank you everyone for the comments this afternoon. Again, my name is Katie Kozlowski, Katie-Koslowski. And if you have continued questions after this meeting, this is the first step in a lengthy process. And my phone number is 804-400-2591. We'd be happy to sit down at any time to answer further questions in the future. In response to some of the questions, again, we truly appreciate those. Luckstone is a privately owned and operated organization that allows us to have a culture focused on people. Not just the people that are inside of our gates, but the people that reside in the communities that we're fortunate enough to call home. While we do believe we've met the regulations outlined in the Edgefield County Ordinance, I heard folks say that we have no obligation, and that just does not align with the culture of our organization. And we hope to reiterate that with the level of conditions that we've offered the county, one of which establishes a community engagement team that will invite folks from around the county, including neighbors, stakeholders throughout the organization, to continue to provide feedback to us, assuming that we're able and fortunate enough to receive our permits, but also to hold us accountable to all of the promises in which we will make, and help us ensure that we continue to be engaged and active and responsible members of the Edgefield County community. Luckstone has a record of environmental stewardship. We have 26 quarry operations and several distribution yards across the southeast. We are recognized at many of those for our level and attention to environmental stewardship, including dust, noise, traffic, blasting, etc. This recognition comes from our attention to the level of regulations, not only from a local level like yourselves, but the state and federal regulations that are applied to our businesses. We hold ourselves not only to the regulations, but try and supersede these regulations in every opportunity. This includes holding ourselves to half of the regulatory limit in blasting, noise, dust, and the list goes on. We've heard, Luck Companies has heard, the concerns around traffic. Yes, we've considered a traffic impact analysis, and based on feedback from the community, we're currently expanding that traffic impact study to include all intersections within a mile of our site and also Sportsman's Corner.
There's nothing there.
The traffic study that has been completed has achieved a letter of concurrence from DOT certifying that the level of traffic that would be added to our site does not change the designation of the road, which is rural collector. And I looked up today, it was mentioned to me that a rural collector road in its definition by SCDOT states mining as a use. And we would not change that designation with the level of trucks that we are adding. I would also reiterate that the traffic study that was completed is a conservative analysis of what our site would enter. We have, again, several locations across the southeast and several in South Carolina. I would invite folks to visit and sit outside of our gates and watch the traffic patterns. At a site like Edgefield, I would expect in the beginning years, the trucks would be 8 to 12 per hour. This site is scheduled to be, or expected to be, maintain that level for 5, 10, 15 years. I also heard concerns about buffers. As I mentioned earlier, our site will maintain 60% of the total acreage, 434 acres. 60% of that will remain open space, remain vegetated, out of respect for our neighbors and local community. Economic impact was also mentioned. Luckstone expects to invest $40 million within the first 10 years and additional dollars as we go on. That not only induces a sales tax for everything purchased in this area, but brings jobs outside of the folks that are directly employed by our organization. Not to mention the additional taxes that will be and benefit Edgefield County, to include a higher level of property tax, a machine and tool tax, and sales tax, in which when material is purchased from our site, the sales tax would generate income for Edgefield County. I heard surrounded on 3 sides by U.S. Forestry Service, and yes, we are. We've reached out to the U.S. Forestry Service because we're hopeful to become a partner with them. And not only just a partner, but hopeful to connect a 1.2-mile trail system along Stevens Creek, our entire northern border, in connection with a trail system adjacent to us. This is something that won't happen tomorrow. It's something that we're hopeful to work through in the next few years and establish for the local community. Across those 30 operations, we have homes that are much, much closer than those here in Edgefield County. We've never once had an impact on home values or property values. We also made a significant investment as an organization to show that and illustrate that to the community that of our corporate office, which sits 450 feet from the edge of our Boscoville operation in Richmond, Virginia. Not once have we had an impact on our structure there, on our wells there, etc. And that is reiterated throughout our operations and our neighbors in those areas. The hydro study that was collected uses data that's readily available to those consultants. We recognize that there are 3 wells within a half-mile radius, and the information that was derived from our hydro study with the use of 5 wells that were pumped down to understand the impact and recharge of that water in the existing water table was then compared with the existing geology, both the geology that was found with the extensive drilling that was done on the site and geology that's been mapped for this area for years. The consultants then took that information and are able to model and ensure as we develop our sites, we will not have an impact on those wells nor any other well that's generated or existing in that area. In our 100-year history, again, we've never had to replace a well. We are legally obligated, not only on South Carolina's DHEC operating permit, but also in the conditions in front of you today, we've legally binded ourselves to replace a well if, which I do not, again, believe will happen, but if we were to have an impact on a well, we are legally obligated to bring that neighbor back up to the level of service that they currently enjoy. The next steps from here, again, this is the first of many steps. We have permitting expectations from DHEC. They will issue or review our application in hopes of an issuance of a permit for surface mining, which regulates our use, an air permit that will regulate dust emissions, and also a water permit. This is not our first site next to a major waterway. We currently operate 2 on the James River, which is a major tributary to the Chesapeake Bay in Virginia. We have a significant and really great partnership with the James River Association, which is the river keeper in that area. And we hope that we can have a relationship with the Savannah River Keeper here in the future. We are committed to having a positive impact, not only on the associates inside of our gates, but the Edgefield community and the community at large. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Anything from the staff?
So I do want to say a few things. And for those of you who don't know me, I'm Doc. I'm Doc Clark. I am the Building and Planning Director and the Assistant County Administrator. So one of the things is that this is a private company, and I know that a lot of you are against this, but property rights are constitutional. And regardless of what people think, the government cannot simply take your rights away. There does have to be a legal reason for denial. It is not a simple thing as, no, you can't do that. You do have to have a reason. This area is unzoned, and regardless of previous comments, it is not being zoned. It is going to remain unzoned unless this board or the county council decides to choose otherwise. I have attempted to zone this area several times over the past 5 years. Unfortunately, you use the Z word in Edgefield County and you get assaulted. It's not a popular thing because people do not understand that zoning is the tool that the state gives counties the ability to regulate the use of land. So when you say that an area is unzoned, what that means is there is no regulation that says you cannot do a certain use on that land. Basically, unzoned means, yes, you have the freedom to do anything you want to on your land, but so does your neighbor. So another comment that was made is that the Planning Commission no longer has any authority. This is not the case. That is not what County Council did. Legal review authority was passed to us at the planning office, yes, but the quasi-legislative powers of the Planning Commission are still in place. They make the rules, and they send those to County Council, who legislates that into actual law. That is the primary function of the Planning Commission, planning. So I just wanted to clear that up, and that's all the comments I have. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Okay. This time we'll close our public hearing and go into on our agenda, old business, and we don't have any old business. So at this time, we're going to item A because item B is excluded. We dropped it off. Final discussion, vote to recommend approval with condition or deny of the Luck Company proposal mining operation and preliminary plat that we have before us. We heard all the comments and we read and so forth. And as Doc has said, we have an area that is unzoned. Unzoned. First time it went up for zone was 30 years ago, and from then we just never was able to zone it. And being an unzoned area, as he said, we have certain criteria that we have to meet. And according to what I have here, I believe on the comprehensive plan, we don't have any conflict of interest with it on the comprehensive plan of that. And also, I think it's a condition of use. The minimum lot size required at 300 acres, I believe. We have over 300 acres that would govern this particular area here to develop a quarry. And we have section 2489 that mines and quarries that have an item that will have to be met. Will have to be met by the applying association. Be met by Lucky. So therefore, we got everything that meet the criteria, except for they got some pending here that on our, as you said, the DHEC and DOT and so forth, and a lot of more things that have to be done. But as far as the Planning Commission is concerned, to meet the expectation of what we are to do under the law, that we don't have anything that would legally give us the right to deny this approval under the condition that we have here. Legally, we could, but legally. So therefore, being I'm going to open for discussion in a minute. But I've
Go ahead, can I comment?
yeah, before we go to vote, I'm gonna open it for comments now before we go any further on the discussion. You go ahead. You want to say something?
First, I want to say this is very personal to me. I grew up on Woodlawn Road. Most of my family lived right there. I only moved
2 whole miles onto Currytown Road. I've got the same concerns y'all do. Some of you I've talked with you individually. I think we can all agree the biggest thing is the traffic. There's a lot of concerns. But as Mr. Burt just said, they have met the requirements. It is zoned, they've checked all the boxes. We don't have a whole lot of choice. I personally have been to Luck in Virginia. I feel like they're doing what any other company out there would do, but I do feel better that it is Luck. From what we saw, it could be worse. Do I like it? Not necessarily, but there's not a whole lot we can do about it. Not legally, they've met all the qualifications. So,
Listen up.
this may not be the meeting for this, but if down the road zoning comes up, we all need to remember this. I remember, like Mr. Burt, back when that came up the first time. I know it's scary, but there are certain things we do as a county need to look at. And I think Mr. Hudson's right. We all need to be at the meetings. We all need to be participating. I don't disagree with you on that, and I don't disagree with most of what anybody has said. I do want to say I don't think Luck has come with any bad intentions other than the business, but that's the business they're in. I do think they're going to try to make the most of it.
My comment is, I actually took notes from each of you about your concerns. I felt like the majority of those concerns Luck had already addressed with us, with what they do above and beyond requirements. Years ago, my family and other homeschoolers, we went and toured the quarry over on Columbia Road in Columbia County. It was a really cool tour. But I will say that what Luck does with their sites is above and beyond and much better than what the Columbia County Quarry does over there, even though it was a very good tour and very interesting. They didn't have the buffer along the road frontage that Luck does with their properties. When you drive by, it looks like a park entrance. I think if a company's going to come in and put a quarry in our county, I'm thankful that it's Luck because of what they give back to the community, and they really try to do their best to be good neighbors to everybody, and they're going to meet the regulations. There is one other question I would like for you to comment on, Katie. There was a question about the reclamation and the fear of possibly allowing nuclear waste burial there. Could you address that? Okay.
We would absolutely be happy to add a condition in addition to the ones that are already in front of you that would not allow us to use the quarry when it is complete as a nuclear waste storage. We're happy to add that.
Or landfill. I will say this, when Luck came to us, they mentioned it would either be recreational or it would be a water reservoir for Edgefield County is what they saw in the future. So if you put those limitations in there, regulations that it can't be a landfill or a nuclear waste burial site.
Any other questions?
You have anything, Ms. Butler?
I'm with the ones with the wells. I know that you said that you all did studies or you placed a well site on your land and did, studies, but I'm like with them. Even though with the blasting and everything and the way that, the changing of the erosion of the ground and everything, there could be some damage there. If there could be somewhere that y'all could put clause in there that if there's damage done to their land, their well, would y'all help pay for it?
Yep. So we are conditioned currently in the conditions that you guys have in front of you, that if there's damage done to a well, that includes lowering the pump, et cetera, that Luckstone is responsible for that. In addition, one thing I didn't mention earlier is that we were suggesting to install 4 monitoring wells. Those monitoring wells would be on the 4 corners of our property, 2 close to Stevens Creek and 2 along Woodlawn Road. Those are done because if there was any change in the water table, those monitoring wells are going to see it first. They're closest to the operation. That monitoring data is public information that's submitted to DHEC, and we're happy to share that with our neighbors and with the community and the county at any time. Internally, an SOP would be if we are seeing a routine reduction in the water table or a change in the water table, we would come together and understand with DHEC and neighbors alike what is going on and determine next steps.
Okay. I took notes as well.
Sure.
How far is the Fats Trail from the actual quarry itself?
I don't know exactly. I believe it's a half mile down Woodlawn Road to the east.
Okay.
The entrance, but the trails cross. There's a trail, Buzzard Creek runs right next to
I never
them.
been on that trail.
Nobody's gonna
I know what it is, I never been on it all.
Crosses the road. And how are they going to let people know when they're blasting? They said they were gonna
Excuse me, it's my question time. Thank you. Excuse me, sir. You're out of order right now.
You
This
got
is
no
my
que-
time. Okay, the thing I heard the most was, to the pit itself. Okay, and so the first site that we went to when we went to Virginia,
Boscobel.
Boscobel site.
Yeah. And if folks would like to look that up, that's Boscobel. It's in Goochland, Virginia.
I recommend you look it up because it's quite nice. But when you go there, how far, okay, the eagle statue, how far is that from the quarry?
Oh, the eagle statue is on the crest of our quarry. You are
Right.
standing right over it.
Right.
The corporate office is 450 feet from that location.
Okay.
And at that point, we don't have any berms in that area. It's a public park area for folks to come, which that happens often. Many times when I'm leaving, there are folks out there picnicking. But again, we're 450 feet from that location. No berms, so when you walk, and again, this is public, welcome people to go. But as you walk closer to that office, which is at 450 feet, you don't hear the operation. And there is no berm infrastructure which is planned for this operation, nor the 60% open space surrounding the site.
So there was no dust or anything like that noted when we were up there. We saw no dust, but the trucks and the plant were all moving quite a lot. I'm trying to get y'all some information if you just give me a minute. So that is actually closer than this Fats Trail is, correct?
Correct.
Okay. All right.
And I can speak to the alerts if you want me to.
Sure.
We have an alert system. All the neighbors in the area are given the choice on email, phone call, or text message. It gives a time of which the blast will go off. Again, this is once every 1.5 to 2 weeks. We also would be happy to. We have trail systems around our Leesburg operation. LEESBURG, it's the WNOD trail and some hiking trails in that area. We have posted signs outside of the trail system to alert people as to when the blast will occur.
out of all the comments, 11 of the comments made were the road. And the width of the road, the curviness of the road, all of that. So at this point, I don't know what your plans are for the road or what DOT's plans are, but that.
Yep. We understand and have the same concerns. We've reached out to DOT in effort to try and partner with them. We've offered to be able to install guardrails at the feedback of the local community with private funding. They are open to that. There's no commitment from them at this point that we will be able to do that. We've also suggested road improvements in front of our entrance. Again, that is something they're willing to entertain. They have not indicated that that would be allowed to happen. They did at that time suggest there is a current project in McCormick County to improve the road with guardrails and repaving. And they suggested that that could happen to Woodlawn Road in the future. And we intend to continue influencing towards that in partnership with the community and the county in the future.
My last thing is, while we were there, we did go on a tour around the places that are right on the other side of a berm, which is right within view of the quarry. One of the properties that we looked at was the 1700s house. We're in Virginia, and it does have houses that are 300 years old. And my question was, have there been any complaints, any repairs, any problems, any well things, anything? And what is the distance to the quarry from that house? And so I'll let you, if you.
That house, that late 1700s era home, is our closest neighbor at our Boscobel site again. It is 770-ish feet from our quarry. It is on well. There's no public water in that area. We have never once had a complaint of foundation damage nor any well damage to that house.
Excuse me. Please. So nothing.
Nothing.
So nothing there. So the closest neighbor here will be 1,500 feet.
Yes, ma'am. Mr. Tubbs, who's directly south of our site, and is 1,500 feet from the proposed extraction area.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Basically, my greatest concern is the road, you know, and that was based on, and all of the fact that they give, they was good facts and all, but I don't know what the solution to that is because the DOT owns the road. DOT owns the road, and even if they went in and straight, you got to get right-of-ways from property owners. And sometimes this is the problem. And but I don't know what could be worked out to do to really do the road improvement or what even, cause like I said, owned by DOT, and DOT make that. I talked with McCormick County on that area on it. And you know, I've been negotiating with them to see what in the possibility on that end, but we talking about Edgefield County, and I haven't talked to anybody about that, but I do realize that DOT control it, and it beyond all of us, you know, what we can do about that. But if it was some way possible, maybe in the future, work out something to improve that road, that you can work out something with DOT and legislature, you got all this process to do it. It'd be, you know, something that would be a great appreciation on it. Any more comments? You want to tell me a motion?
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Can I rebuttal just 1 minute what she had to say? The thing is, DOT told me the only way this can stop, everybody's covered their, crossed their T's and everything, is to vote no.
Well, I understand because all her questions were positive.
Well,
Right.
this is fine and dangerous, but anyway, they have to vote no, and they gotta do it one more time, or it's it. It's a fix. I mean, anyway, there's a primary in June 11th. Don't vote out our county. Stop corporate trying to take over the county. You know, he's from Virginia. Okay.
Can I ask Ms. Whitaker one question?
Sure.
Apparently you went up there to visit it. Did you stand outside and watch the
I did. At three different plants.
They didn't make noise, are they electric?
What do you think? No, they
No,
didn't.
you don't,
No,
you don't live on Woodlawn,
no, I live right down the road from one.
but you know what?
What?
Somebody's gonna die. What are they gonna do when that person dies? And, Mr. Burt, you really do need to have a closing prayer. That Stanley Martin, please, I'm not stupid, so I know the legal issue there. You don't want Stanley Martin to make Mount Vintage look bad or cause a problem, but it's okay to do this to us.
Ma'am, I'm staying within regulations of what I'm required. I know I'm required to do, and, you know, being fair, I'm fair to all parties, and I had more, you know, leeway, but anyway,
This is not a rant, this is to address your immediate concern about what we can do. And you said, there's no mention of an impact fee. In the state of South Carolina, you can assess an impact fee on a company to offset the cost that they have when they're affecting the local population, such as if you need to fix a road, it's a state law. If they need to fix a road, that don't need to fix it, we just don't need a quarry on it, but if you say they must be allowed to build this quarry, you can assess a reasonable impact fee on them, providing the county's got its ducks in order.
Eddie, come on. I know a lot of things, and I understand all of it, and I agree all of it, you know, but we've got to do things in order. Now, in my, at this time, I want to entertain a motion. You're gonna entertain a motion that we, in that, with the, this is a preliminary, and that they follow, you know, bet that, and that the director, the plan and so forth, that they make sure, we got a list of things that are requirement that they need to meet, and that all the standards are met, you know, as outlined, or anything we see, also to look into the road deal and so forth, and we'll go from there. So you go make that motion. Okay.
Why are y'all scared to lead? I know y'all got a lawsuit against you.
Hold it, sir, hold it. Okay, go ahead.
There's a lot of things going on. Y'all need to get involved.
At ease. Come on, go ahead and make the motion.
Again, I make a motion
Okay, make it. Go ahead and make it.
to,
With the stipulation.
to approve.
Just recommend making.
Okay, recommend approval for Luckstone.
Do I get a second?
Second.
Do I get in discussions? In discussion.
I don't have anything else.
So the motion is that we approve it. Approve the said application here for preliminary. It'll be followed up by the planning, that whatever is necessary, that they meet the requirements of all the requirements that are listed on this sheet here to meet those specs as they go and get all the pending, everything from DHEC, DOT, and everything in order. All in favor of said motion, is your right hand. Opposed, ayes have it. Any more comments? Anything for me? I mean, not from the public. Anybody else? This time. At ease, sir. Give me a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Appreciate everybody coming.